Hello everyone, welcome to the Kevin Lee Social. Thank you for tuning in. What initially began as an 8-part series interviewing entrepreneurs to share and inspire how they've successfully pivoted during COVID-19, I have decided not only to continue this series, but also to expand on the scope to understand and learn about people's craft, philosophy, the challenges they face in the industry, and their favorite failures that have helped shape them to become who they are today. By going deeper and understanding different thought leaders, businesses, and industries, the idea is to help cross-pollinate ideas applicable in your life and inspire action in this new norm we live in. I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you. Today we have Vaibhav Namburi. V had started 5to1, a web/app company in May 2017 with $500 and grew it to 7 figures and 10 members in an impressive 11 months and 28 days. During this time, they've been recognized as one of the best in Australia and have built 42 production-grade applications for startups and corporates. He's worked with the UN, PwC, News Corp, Cars Guide, Autotrader, IAG, William Hill, Society One, Luma Chain, UNSW, and many other multi-million billion-dollar companies. He has taught at 2 software bootcamps on how to build quality software products in various technologies and authored 3 courses on Udemy that gained nearly 35,000 students online. He's spoken internationally and nationally at over 46 events from meetups to paid conferences. He's currently building an array of products, including birchporting.co, SmartWriter AI, remotelyworking.co, buildingstartups.co. You often find him on stage sharing advice and tips on bootstrapping a business, to talks on AI's position in the future, the best software development, and product growth tactics. He's had the opportunity to mentor for world-class accelerators like StartMate, Antler UK, Incubate, UNSW founders, and Australia's largest VC fund, Blackbird, as a giant. Everyone, please help me welcome V. Hey V, how you doing, my friend?
Good, mate. How you going? Thanks for having me.
Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for making the time out of your busy schedule for this. You are very generous with your time, sir. Thank you.
No, absolutely. It's a pleasure having you on board. You run a pretty exciting cafe, which I've been to. I'm very excited to see where this conversation goes.
Small world, what small world? Gotta have you back.
For sure.
V, I'd like to lead off the conversation. If you could please share with us a bit about your story from studying mechanical engineering, fellow mechanical engineer, to building 5to1 web and mobile app company.
For sure. If you're watching this on video, obviously, I'm not wearing a bathrobe. I'm wearing something called a comfy. It is a very comfy blanket. I'm not a weirdo who shows up in podcasts in bathrobes. It's just a nice jumper. Just FYI. If you're listening in, so yeah, quick background. I graduated from UNSW as a mechanical engineer. Didn't know much about programming. I actually hated coding. So that's a funny story. I got into software purely because of back in 2014, Kickstarter, for those who know, was it was massive, right? It's still massive, but it was very massive back then. And I realized going through those platforms and realizing, oh man, I could build all of these ideas and each of these ones were getting funded millions. And I realized the only skill I didn't have was the development or the programming aspect to it. That combined with the fact that there was no engineering jobs available at that point, because I think the government in Australia was really focused towards moving away from manufacturing completely, and Ford was shutting down. There was literally no engineering jobs out there, only consulting. Programming was honestly a survival skill. So I learned to code online. All the companies and all this hype that you see right now that people experience around programming bootcamps, etc. I was at the very forefront of it. Learned to code online, learned to do things online, bopped around, and eventually worked in a few startups. Got a job at PwC and KPMG, etc. Much to my parents' despair, I quit. It was a sad conversation. My dad was very excited that I got a job there, but I quit to join a startup, someone else's startup, and then worked in a few other companies, and then I somehow ended up leading a pretty large team for global. I wouldn't call it global. They were called William Hill, which was basically, I don't think they exist anymore. I think they're under Crown Bet. It was under Tom Waterhouse's company. And after that, I started doing some consulting work for people, helping people out with their products, etc. I joined a startup again. You can see this itch for me. I was weird. I was constantly trying to salary sacrifice as much as I can and take the lowest pay possible just for the sense of getting equity. I don't know what it was, maybe the whole millennial thing, what it is, but it's one of those things that you might attest to it as well. Is like once you acquire a certain skill set that you might not get paid the most will be a job. So you want to be able to be out there taking some risks and trying to start something new, etc. So I started helping this person acquire some clients and customers, and I realized I can do this myself. So then pretty much just strapped boots on and said, look, I'm going to give this a shot myself, and started the agency. It was a shit few months in the beginning, but it always picks back up. Yeah. And that's how I kicked off the agency. It was honestly because I wanted to start something. I did not know what I wanted to start, and an agency or a consulting business was just a leeway, which then obviously grew into something way bigger than I expected it to be.
Thank you so much for sharing that story, V. For those who are listening as well, he shares the story very casually, but you mentioned a bootstrap, and then it ended up being a 7-figure business in a relatively short time.
Yes, yeah, we started with $500. We crossed over $1 million in about 360 something days. I was very clear about the day because I just wanted to. It was just an internal thing where I don't know if you experience this with faces. There is not a lot of young Asian founders. It's just a given fact, right? We're mostly in consulting, we're mostly in law, engineering, etc. So it was more so validation towards me that I did a good decision. And I think, I don't know whether you attest to it, or it's parents just find it very difficult to understand what their kids are doing because they work so hard to send them here. They want them to be stable and happy. And then you become the douchebag and be like, oh no, I don't want a stable job. I want to do something bigger to then take care of the family, etc. Yeah, I just wanted to hit that number, not because I care about the capital. It was just so that we could prove to the world that we are a serious business, we can do something, and we're a serious operator. Yeah, it was tough, but we got there. It was, oh man, horrible hours.
Mate, kudos to you for leading the way for us Asians trying to.
Yeah, mate, you're leading the way with the cafes over here. The popular cafes too.
It's too much to also my parents' dismay.
I can fully understand.
From mech engineer to hospitality, they're like, what the hell are you doing? Because they were in hospitality when they were young and then growing up, and then they're like, what, you got into that? What the hell?
PTSD. Don't make the mistakes I made. But mate, you're crushing it, so I'm very glad to see.
Thank you so much, my friend. And I'm going to switch gears a little bit to jump back and forth, and I want to address a bit of something that we're going through, not a bit, actually something that we're going through, which is COVID. How has COVID affected your work since, and how have you worked to maneuver around this current landscape with your business?
Yep, great question. It completely changed our business. We're a service-based business. We depend a lot of our work comes from venture-backed businesses, people who are willing to risk capital. What I've come to learn, and you tend to understand this as well, is you work out whether you're a luxury or a necessity. And to us, I believe so. We sit right in the middle, because in the end, we're a local business, which means we need to support salaries locally, which essentially means we're not necessarily the cheapest. We never go for that. We go for quality, and we want to do it right once. What that means, though, is people tend to come to us when there's disposable cash flow. So in the first, when COVID hit, I remember getting calls within a week of all our customers saying, look, our VCs have blocked cash. We don't have cash flow anymore. The business that we're using. So it was bad. But what I've known from the very beginning is the agency model is a broken business model, because what happens with an agency is that as you scale your revenue, your expenses scale linearly as well, because in the end, you are masking workforce and making a margin off of that, right? So if you take, for example, a product business, an e-commerce business, or a SaaS business, what ends up happening is if you acquire 50,000 new customers, doesn't matter. Your software is there to handle it. Your e-commerce distribution engine is there to handle it. With an agency, when you acquire 10 new projects, you hire like 15 new people. So I was just not sold on that. So we were trying to processize our business as much as we can. So we're trying to productize it. So we soon scaled into e-products. So we started offering courses to customers. We said, if we can do this, we can do it. Why don't we show our customers how they can do this themselves? So we started a lot of ebooks. We started doing that. And then the second thing we did was we started eating our own dog food. It's similar to a chef not liking their own food. A lot of agencies out there have never built their own startup.
Okay.
And that is, there's nothing wrong with that. They're there to fill a certain need. They never built their own startup. I started the agency with the core focus of building my own startup. The agency was just a way to quit a job. So we used that as an opportunity to go ahead and build our own products, build our own SaaS ventures, and start descaling the business from a workforce-based growth model to a SaaS or scalable business model, which meant we are COVID free, we are workforce free, and we can scale a business just purely by solving a problem. And we messed up. We went with the trend. We launched a few products that people loved, and I'll share more about that in this podcast. And what we come to learn is whenever there's a capital intensive business in 2021, unless it's truly necessary for you to be capital intensive, it's worth reevaluating whether you need that much workforce management to operate a successful business.
Actually, one of my first interviews was with a gentleman called Boon Chu.
Yeah.
He's from Topolo Media. He's based in New York, also a acquaintance on Trends where I met you.
Yeah.
And he was also going through COVID, like during the phase that when we were chatting about his app building company as well. And he was finding it quite a struggle. It's a very similar thing. All the VCs was like pulling out all their funds and he wasn't sure how to pivot. In his space, what he was doing a lot was teaming up with a lot of people who didn't have money, but who had the ideas, and he'd, take equity and help them build their models. But in a similar sense to yourself, building SaaS-like services, but you guys kept everything in-house, which is amazing. Yeah. And so how did it go? How has it gone since then after you guys have put together your own businesses?
Yeah, great question. Look, we've been running our own business for a while, in the sense that we ran our first SaaS product all the way literally 6 months after launch the agency. We started another business, we sold that. But I think what we've learned from the COVID times is it's not just side business. We want this to be the pure focus. And what that does is it significantly helped our existing customers. Because now if anyone goes to our website, I'm not shilling our website, obviously, if anyone goes to our website, we don't talk about the tech. We don't talk about anything. We just talk about results. Because in the end, business is about results, right? Even if we're a tech business, all our companies are making at least 5-6 figures a month. Some of them have exited. So we've come to learn that the tech part is the easiest part. It's about how do we build distribution engines for our customers? How do we engineer growth into the business when we're trying to build it for them? So that's definitely one thing. The second thing is some of the SaaS businesses that we've worked on is a saying that I've encompassed in my head is chase tides, not waves. A wave is really fast. It looks exciting. Everyone's eyes are focused on the wave, but it crashes really badly and it takes everyone out with them. But a tide is very silent and it's stable, but it takes everyone else up with them. Like says, a rising tide lifts all boats. So we entered the remote working space really fast because we thought that's a great idea. But I'm a firm believer, and I'm happy to be countered on this, is in 2021, technology is not the difficulty. In 2021, or probably I would say 2018 onwards, distribution engines is where revenue cycles are. Like, I don't know if any of your founders, I know a lot of people listening to this founders, there's a book called Traction, and it's a fantastic book to read. And the highlight of the book basically says is everyone can build a product, but most startups fail because they just don't get traction. I think we've moved purely to focus on how we can help people grow their business. And just to stretch this question a little further, for those who are listening, because I've built almost 50 products and I built my own apps and messed up a fair bit. In the end, these are the 6 to 8 fundamental emotions that I think, and I've posted this on Trends, I think so as well, is in the end, your business needs to help people save money, make money, save them time, reduce or get rid of an effort that they face, remove a pain, emotional, physical pain, help them feel loved, improve their social status, or help them go ahead and live a better life. If you can solve for these things, if your product does one of these things, those are the core emotions at which people will make decisions. And if you don't do any of those things, then it's worth reevaluating why you're even doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much for sharing those lessons. We'll go through them again and make sure I write it all down and put it on my wall right here. Obviously, you're a man who has a lot of experience, not only setting up his own businesses and making them successful, but also helping others become successful with their own businesses. What are some key lessons you could share with us when bootstrapping a new startup?
Yep, great question. Dave, I think wrote about this recently as well, is most people look for the wrong ways of validation. In the sense that we force validation onto ourselves. Because we're so attached to the idea, we force validation to ourselves. Instead, what you need to do is work towards a framework of ideas. And what I mean by frameworks of ideas is, I'll actually share this with you. I don't know if you want to put it up the podcast, etc. Is how do you go ahead and create a framework for, I sound like a life coach, not a framework for success, but how do you create a framework that minimizes failure? And in this sheet that I have in front of me, the way I operate is straightforward. Is I have an idea. I have the problem that is the idea is towards. The next thing I look for is how am I going to distribute this idea? What's the growth? That's the first focus is how is this even going to sell? And then who am I even selling to? Most people don't know who they're selling to. And then the last point, number 5, is when I actually come to the solution. So what am I actually even solving for? Right? Then I look at the competition and I ask myself a few important questions. Can I actually sell this? A great example is Masterclass. I don't know if you've heard about that, where you got Gordon Ramsay, etc. Beautiful idea. But I don't know how to get in touch with Gordon Ramsay. If I put my heart and soul to it, yes, but I'm sure someone who's got the contacts there can do it much better and faster than me. So automatically I would disqualify that. Beautiful idea, but I just don't think I can sell it. Then problem cost is something important every bootstrapper needs to ask, is how much is this currently costing their customer, the potential customer? Every solution is a replacement of another solution. So what is the cost of what you're doing for them right now that when they see your solution, it's 10x cheaper, 5x cheaper, whatever it is. The other thing is knowledge gap, in the sense that what is the knowledge gap from where your customer wants to be and where they are right now, and how easy is your product going to make it for them? The reason why a lot of Shopify apps are so incredibly successful is because they address the knowledge gap. Most e-commerce founders are extremely untechnical, extremely, right? And if you look at some of the apps that are doing well for themselves over there, they're the most basic technical products. But what is basic for me as someone who's in software, the knowledge gap is extremely high for maybe a 65-year-old who's just learned about e-commerce, and she or he does not know how to do anything, but if a button does it for them, they're happy to pay $15. The other thing, is it a painkiller or a vitamin? This is a common VC term. A painkiller is, if I have a headache, I will pay $100 for Panadol if I have to. But I don't think I would never pay $100 for vitamin. Not on me, at least. And the last 2 things you need to ask yourself, is it a money-making business or a money-saving business? Because if it's money-saving, you go for a different sell to when you're trying to make money. And yeah, that's basically the criteria or tips that I can tell is ask yourself these questions, build a framework around your ideas, and then write down a bunch of ideas. Fail fast, quit fast, launch fast. And the last point is get commitment. Email signups are not validation. Your app is cool is not validation. Oh, wow, that's great, I want to try it out is not validation. What is validation is commitment of money, commitment of time, commitment of reputation, right? People are saying, I will pay you right now. Whatever it is, I'll pay you $15. They're willing to part something that is near and dear to them for the solution you're going to be. And the other thing is commitment of reputation. For those who are interested, there's a book called Contagious, which basically talks about the science behind virality. And at its core, virality basically comes from the fact that people want to share things that make them feel important. So if you build something that makes if you share something that makes someone feel important, you will automatically go for the win. Yes, that's basically where I would start putting the lines out there.
Wow. Incredible framework you've listed there. Very detailed, very actionable steps too. I'm sure the listeners will appreciate. I will even start taking a look at a lot of that too and break it down.
Cost me a lot of money to come to this point.
Thank you so much for sharing your expensive lessons with us.
Yeah.
I wanted to hone in on one thing that I've come across that you're a big believer in, and that is done is better than perfect. And you're, like you said, get it out fast, fail fast. Can you share a little bit more about that belief and your experience behind it, and why people should be doing that rather than taking so much time developing an idea?
For sure. I think the fail fast thing is very glamorized by Silicon Valley, and especially when you have millions of dollars, it's easy for you to say to fail fast. When we're bootstrapper, we don't have that choice because A, we have family to feed. B, we have parents who are going to put pressure on us. And C, it mentally hurt. People don't speak about that often, but the mental toll that a failure has on you is serious, it's aggressive, and it can derail you a bit. So I generally believe that done is much better than perfect, purely because I've seen the amount of people who've lost money trying to chase perfection. It's a procrastination equivalent of running a business, right? You should not chase perfection. It's never perfect. You should work out, okay, I have this principle called the Shawshank Theory. The Shawshank Theory, have you seen the movie Shawshank Redemption?
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So
movie.
For those who haven't, it's a beautiful movie. Watch it. If you haven't seen this, frame of reference might not make sense to you. But in that, we know Andy Dufresne's trying to escape, right? What your product needs to be is a pipe. That's all. What your problem that the customer is facing is freedom. And Andy Dufresne was willing to work 20 years, right, just to access the pipe. That's all he was trying to do. So your goal is to build what is needed to get to your customer's main pain point. It might not be pretty, it might not be exciting, but the point is it gets them to where they want to be. And the want that you're trying to solve is so deep that whatever uncomfortable inexperience that your product has is overseen because the solution you're offering them is so valuable. And if you can't offer that, if you're saying, all right, I just want to come and become a cheaper Uber, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But just note that then you need to chase towards that. Your done needs to be as perfect as $1 billion business. So it's up to you to see how you want to go towards that business model. So I've always followed that principle where it's simple, it's lovable, it's complete, get it done, launch in. I have an aggressive timeline. I know most people don't agree with it. I have an aggressive timeline saying build within 3 weeks. If you can't build your business in 3 weeks, dump it. This is for bootstrappers.
Yep.
Being very particularly clear. If you're trying to build like an ag tech or a med tech business, 3 weeks, 3 weeks is going to just take you jumping on a phone call with doctors and lawyers to get, approval. I would generally recommend for you to go ahead and set up a timeline. If you can't get it done in an aggressive timeline, then work on a different idea. Simple as that.
Anyone that comes across your page can see your work has been shortlisted and featured on many prominent spaces. One of Australia's most prolific founders, and I'm sure it hasn't always been this way. Do you have a favorite failure that has set you up for later success?
Yeah, so many. I can't even think of how many times I've messed up. So the favorite failure actually comes from your previous question, which is why I'm so passionate about it, is we built what we think is still a very big problem. It's recruitment for software engineers. Everyone needs software developers, but everyone still struggles finding them. But we did everything. We interviewed the biggest CTOs in Australia because obviously had the network. We spent thousands of dollars in validation and all that kind of jazz. But we were just so after perfection that we just didn't launch a finalized product. And before we even launched and had paying customers, we were trying to work through, let's re-engineer the code base because it's better to... No, just nothing matters. Get someone to pay you, or get someone to give you money, get someone to give you their time or their reputation saying that they'll, share this product. Nothing else matters. So latter I would say was one of my biggest ones. Lost north of 6 figures in that business. I was 24. It was big hit. Pretty much, I think I took the entire net profit of 521 that we've made and dumped it into this as a gung-ho. I was like, I don't care. I'm so tired of the agency model. I just want to do this and I'll give it a shot. And lost a fair bit, recovered, learned, came out bruised, battered. But that's why I have that PTSD, whatever you call it, where 3 weeks, get it out there, get customers. If it doesn't, and just don't be stuck to an idea. Like pivot, fail fast, move on, etc. And eventually you will work out that it's numbers that matter. Like we have a product called SmartWriter, which we'll jump into very soon when we speak about AI, where now that I've seen this, I've come to realize, oh crap, this is what validation feels like. Yeah.
Great. Since you're in the whole web and app development space in Australia, how important is it for people wanting to learn how to code in 2021? I know that in your past talks or videos you've shared about no code, and it's a big upcoming thing at the moment. Could you expand a bit more about that for us, please?
Yeah, for sure. If you're a completely non-technical person, like you're a designer, marketer, restaurateur, anyone who has no experience with programming, or maybe even mechanical engineer, no code is a great way to get started. No code is basically this movement where you don't need to know how to code to build an application just through drag and drop, etc. It's not always easy. There's still some technicalities attached to it, but it's a great way to kick off. In the end, I'm a firm believer that no code is just an accelerant, but it's never a replacement of programming. Just won't happen. As much as no code movement wants to try and push for it, just will never happen. As someone who's an advocate for no code, I can tell you that it's just program is never going away. What no code does is it lets you think as a programmer on a high level without having to worry about it's. Let's say you're learning a new language, right? Let's say you're learning French. The focus is on learning French, not learning the scripture of French. Versus let's say you're learning Cantonese or Mandarin. You're going through two challenges. You're A, learning the language, but B, you're also learning the script. With no code, the script is taken care for you because you're just doing drag and drop stuff. So you're learning the language, you're learning how, so your brain is not focused on mundane things. So once you understand that, then learning the scripture is obviously significantly easier. Then you're going to have this is what this means. This is what this means because you've already fixed that battle. So programming is fundamental. Everyone needs to know how to code. My 5-year-old nephew has learned how to code in primary school, whatever he's in. And if these kids are doing this, us as adults, we need to will be completely demolished if we don't know how to code. And I say don't become a programmer. Just understand how logic works. What is an if statement? What is a loop? Just basic things, because that's a language of the future profession. That's how I see it. So no code is a great way to get started, but get your feet wet in programming. Don't become a programmer if it's not your cup of tea, but at least understand how things work.
And to follow along with that, where would you recommend people to start with programming? I know there's a whole abundance of resources out there. Where would you recommend?
See, I would normally say YouTube because everything on the internet is for free, right? But in my opinion, structure is very important, especially when you're going down a daunting path like programming. That can be very difficult. For that reason, I would suggest Udemy. Udemy has some fantastic lessons. My entire career is pretty much built on Udemy, right? When there was the new technology, blockchain tech, etc., which we build, I pretty much just go learn on Udemy and then start applying it to my work. There's great instructors out there, great resources, community. I would start there if I was you. That's how I started 2021. Wow. Okay. 8 years ago. So that's what I'd encourage you to start as well.
Great. Let's get into some more juicy stuff. Let's talk AI.
For sure.
How do you think AI will shape our future with the insight that you have?
It's everywhere. AI is implicit. So what I mean by AI implicit is it's similar to breathing, in the sense that you don't know you're doing it until you consciously pay effort. I'll give you an example. When was the last time you knew AI was involved when you were traveling from A to B? Google Maps is basically built all across an AI engine that tries to work out the best route for you, tries to work out traffic conditions, etc. And there's a lot of artificial intelligence involved. For you, you're just following a line across a map and you think this is a given. But that's the scariness of AI, is that it's subtle. Right? And then what happens is with human beings, I know it's happened to you, is when a computer starts making what we think obvious mistakes, we start getting frustrated. So let's say I recently visited the Mayflower. So let's assume I've visited the Mayflower, but I want to visit the Mayflower again a week later. And when I type it in, I expect it to autocomplete. That's an expectation I have. But when it doesn't, I'm getting frustrated. And that's the scariness of AI, is that it's embedded into us without us even knowing. Artificial intelligence is everywhere right now. It's how the world operates at this point in time. And it's something people need to learn to embrace. It's the fourth revolution, as it's called, or whatever it is. And if you can't embrace it, you're going to be left behind. As with anything in a revolutionary change that happens, the industrial revolution, blah, 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 is there are tools that are used to help us prevent mundane tasks. So treat it as that. And use it to take you to the next level. AI is everywhere. It's inevitable. And we know people like Elon Musk, Bezos, as well as Tim Cook from Apple are pushing aggressively for it. A great example is Tesla auto-driving cars. That's completely AI, right? Mm-hmm. In 10 years' time, when we have kids and kids, they're not going to know what the opposite of selfless driving cars was. They're like, wait, humans are driving cars? That's stupid, right?
Yeah.
So get used to it. It's going to be around. And what I actually got into trouble for saying this, but I think it's true. Programming, like we spoke about just recently, it's not just normal development work. I think the new age programmer should also understand how machine learning and artificial intelligence works to be a full stack engineer. It's not just learning front end code, which is the prettiness of the UI, and not just back end code, which is server, etc. But you should also understand how you can implement machine learning models into your business, because that is what will step you apart as a programmer.
And could you share a bit of your experience with setting up for example, Smart Rider company?
Sure. Very similar to you. Like that link I sent you pretty much has me breaking down Smarter, actually. I found a problem. There's this new model. There are a few language models called GPT-3 and CTRL that were launched by Elon Musk and a few other people, which basically helps create predictive text. Right? It's scarily accurate. It's really freaky. When you see this is when it's like a real face realization, like, crap, AI can do dangerous things to us. But what we did was we just didn't take AI and build something just that stuck to it. We use it as a tool. So Smart Rider, for anyone who's interested, it's basically personalized cold outreach software. So the way it works is quite straightforward. You want to reach out to 50 people. The best way for you to do it is read every single person's online LinkedIn profile, website, etc., and then write down a personalized message, because if you write a templated message, no one's going to read it. But that takes a lot of time and effort. What we did was we used AI and a bunch of other tools. You click a button, upload a website, and we do the entire personalization for you. It looks like you spent hours and it just took you seconds. And that's the scariness of AI, right? We've got some of our customers, including ourselves, we've got 80% open rates, 40% reply rates. I'm just using my own software to acquire customers. And none of them even notice that this is what's happening behind the scenes.
Wow.
So at what point do you realize, and it's really funny because in my customer support chat, we're north of about 1,500 customers. Some of the times my customers don't know whether they're talking to me or they're like, oh, is this a robot or is this V? I was like, it's concerning that you think that's it. And I'm not making this up. I have screenshots. And I was like, no, this is me. This is V. Then, oh, okay. Blah, blah, blah. It is exciting. And this is what I say is if you don't embrace technology, you'll be left behind. It's as simple as that. And just to drag on to that last point a bit is you don't need to learn everything with programming, right? I don't know a lot about my GPT-3 models or my CTRL models or some of my NLP models that we built. NLP is natural language processing models. But there's so much out there that's already done for you in prepackaged softwares that you can just use as a service, right? Again, this is the whole MVP approach. Build with what's out there and then make it your own later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is a very scary model. I had a taste of it, of the GPT model through Snazzy.ai.
Yes.
And my gosh, the work that it spits out is scary sometimes. You're thinking, oh my gosh, this is doing better than I would do.
Yeah, it's really freaky.
Read my mind.
That's exactly why I get very concerned when I see stuff like that. But look, if you don't embrace it, it's going to replace you. Right? Simple as that.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. We have to get onto it.
Pretty much.
Since you work with so many amazing startups and you've worked on your own, if it's possible, are you able to share some of the amazing startups you're working with at the moment, those that are looking to change the world in some way?
Sure. Again, for legal purposes, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I can share their names, but I can tell you the industries these businesses are focused on that I think if someone else is interested, can focus on it as well. There are going to be more small businesses opening up in the world at a ridiculously aggressive pace than ever before. Entrepreneurship is everywhere. Good thanks to Gary Vaynerchuk spewing his crap all across the internet and a bunch of other people and founders just jumping into business. And people, I think COVID, realizing that a single job is not the most stable thing ever. So more small business opening up everywhere, which means that this new ecosystem that's opening up needs support, accounting support, legal support, etc. But how do you take something that's a broken industry that is accounting and legal and make a process out of it? I think a great company out there that I'm not associated with at all is called Sprint Law. Law is expensive and difficult. And what they do is they offer you packages at $900 a year, which is very cheap for a lawyer. Usually that's an hourly rate and you get an amount of advice. So how do you take an existing business model and come up with unique ways to go ahead and serve a new audience base that you're acquiring through? Legal is going through disruption left, right, and center. Process automation, right? Business process automation is pretty much $1 trillion industry. How do you take care of that? Sales, with more businesses opening, more people are trying to sell their products. So how do you take care of that? Which is AI advertising, through Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, TikTok, etc. Can you build a business model around that helps, customers? Legal is another great space to be in. It's real estate tech. With more disposable income than ever in terms of per capita of people earning these days, people are just going to go through the traditional investment model, which is real estate. But till date is the most difficult process people go through for the single most important investment they'll ever make. How can you solve for that? So I believe these are the areas if someone wants to focus on towards the future, amongst with solving for the main thing, which I didn't speak about, is remote work. I always bullish. Anyone who wants to stalk me, you'll see me be bullish about remote work all the way from 2019, way before COVID. But I thought remote work is going to be a staple in 2035 or something. It's 2021 and pretty much everything's changed. So cultural problems, onboarding problems, team management problems, communication, the basic human aspect, we're social beings, all of that is being challenged right now. Big problems. And I think it's ripe for disruption. So if you want to focus on that, remote work is a massive space to solve for. It's aggressive because everyone's doing it. Where there's competition is validation.
Yeah. COVID just sped all of that right up, didn't it?
Pretty much. And sorry, one last thing, e-commerce. Anything e-commerce. I reckon you've got a year and a bit window. Do anything e-commerce, 5 years time, you're walking out with a couple $1 million, hands down.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's not too saturated e-commerce. You think it's definitely
everything's saturated, man. We're 7 billion people in the world, and there's more people getting access to internet every single day than they did yesterday. And as it goes, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is today.
Yeah,
it's simple as that. When someone says it's saturated, it's competitive, I was like, it's going to be more competitive tomorrow than it is today. It's inevitable. Right? What are you going to do about it? E-commerce is competitive, but it'll be more competitive. I got into e-commerce in 2017. Everyone said e-commerce is too aggressive, too difficult. Same thing 2018, same thing 2019, same thing 2020, same thing 2020. So
Absolutely.
It's always going to be the case. Yeah.
Wise words, my friend. Now we're reaching towards the tail end of the conversation. So it's a couple of questions more geared towards yourself in terms of, do you have any morning or evening routines that you follow?
Yes, I've come to learn more recently how important, and look, I'm sorry if I'm going to be outlandish here, but I tend to be very pessimistic. It's hard for me to fall into grips with life coaches and business coaches, etc., because there's just so much hush-hush out there. But I do believe that one thing that has struck to me in all the incredible books that I've read is mindset, and how important it is for you to have that concept of manifestation. And I'm not going to sound too huffy puffy about this, but I do believe that I think Henry Ford said this, and I never got it until past 6 months, is whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. And then it's actually very true, because if you read a lot of books, you'll hear a lot of people think that people ask, okay, how is this person who's an idiot or much less smarter than me, why are they more successful than I am? It's always the case, right? Intelligent ones are not. So why it's just because they believe in themselves. It's just because they didn't know otherwise. Because analysis paralysis, where you're quote unquote intelligent, you think, oh, these are all the ways I'm going to fail. When you're quote unquote not intelligent, you just don't give a shit. You're like, I just didn't know I was going to fail, so I just YOLO'd it. I can't believe I said YOLO, but you just went for it because you just don't know the point of failure. So similar to you and me, mate. Right now, if you knew what you knew before you started your business, there was a lot of things you wouldn't have done. Maybe I don't think I would have gone into business if I knew all the things I knew that was going to happen to me. So that's pretty much why. So yes, early morning meditation, 3 to 5 minutes at least. Writing down 3 things I'm grateful for. Not for any other reason. It's purely because it, as it's called, it massages your brain to force it to think about a certain type of thing. Right? If you force yourself to think about the good things that happen, you'll eventually just start only thinking about good things. And the other thing is sending a message of appreciation to someone every single day. Whatever it is, whoever it is, send them a message of appreciation saying thank you for whatever they've done. And it does 2 things. It engages conversation and it helps you find the positivity in individuals. Those are 3 things that I've been doing. I would love to do more exercise, but yeah, those are 3 things I'm doing. And I've seen some very helpful change for sure.
A beautiful routine you've got there, V.
By the way, it's not my own routine. I picked it from a book called The Slight Edge, a very recommended book. It's by all the most famous entrepreneurs that I've seen. Have a read of it if you'd like. It's called The Slight Edge. It's all about productivity and mindset and so on and so forth.
Great. I'll definitely put it in the show notes. I am also an avid meditator, and I wanted to ask your meditation practice. What kind of meditation practice do you do? Is it simple breath work or is it simple? Yeah, you tell me.
A good question. I'm a very big noob to this, like massive noob. It's just breath work right now, just trying to focus. So I've got pretty sure it's undiagnosed ADHD. So it's extremely hard for me to concentrate on certain things. So I've been using Headspace. So definitely vouch for that. I think that's a great if you're an early beginner, but more recently trying to latch off that dependency and just doing breath work right now, just sitting down as soon as I wake up, closing my eyes and just trying to focus on the breathing. It's so easy, but it's so impossibly difficult to do. So that's that. I don't know if anyone's seen this viral clip about the captain saying, make your bed as soon as you wake up, because that gives you a sense of achievement. So do that. I strongly believe that's a big thing, because the second you get into the mindset of I've done something, I've achieved something, however small it is, it just kicks your brain into thinking that, okay, I'm going to get the next thing done. Yeah, with your meditation question, it's just breathing right now.
Great. Thank you. Do you have a favorite book you'd recommend?
Mate, so many. I'm looking over here.
You can pick 3 then.
Tough one. Okay, because you said this is budding entrepreneurs and people who are trying to grow their business, how to win friends and influence people. Changed my life.
Dale Carnegie. Yeah.
Yes, Dale Carnegie. You learn how to sell. You learn how to operate human beings. You'll understand the concept of influence. Second thing, there's too many. But okay, so I'll go with that. And the other one I'll go with is it's basically called, if you're in SaaS, it's called Hooked. It's about consumer behavior patterns and how you can get people to use your product. It's dark patterns, but it's a great book. But if you're not in SaaS and you're in anything else otherwise, it's called Influence by Robert Cialdini. It's about the 7 pillars of influence that get people to do anything you want them to do. And the last book, since we went through the 2 of those, Never Split the Difference.
Right. Oh, great suggestions. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Oh, amazing books.
Yes.
Are there any new beliefs or behaviors that have had a positive impact in your life in the past recent years?
Yeah, I think more recently it's two things actually that I've been writing down. So every day I write down my goals. Every day. I think the mistake people make is they write down their goals and they put in their pocket saying that, yes, I've written down my goals. No, every day write down your goals and have a deadline to it. Because every day when you see that, fuck, I had 363 days yesterday, now I only have 362 and I've done nothing, it kicks something into you. Every day write down your goals. And not only your goals, every day write down what is the process you're going to get there. So right next to me, whoever's watching the video, right over here, I have a book that says how much I want to be making, when I want to be making it by, and also the process behind it. What exactly am I going to do this week to get me to that, which is going to get me to the next month, what I'm going to do in a month to get to the year, to 5 years, the 5 years to 10 years. So that's one thing I've definitely been doing that has helped. And the other things that you said is do the thing and you shall have the power. It's Nike's rendition, but it's an old saying. Basically what it means is just get off your butt, try it out. We spend so much time in this manifesting failure in our own head. It doesn't work out. And last thing, sorry, I rambled a bit, but I came across this clip by Joe Rogan a bit. I think it was something about it. I was like, wow, this is so true. It was a clip from his old podcast where he said, work like you think you've hired a dedicated film crew who are recording your success. Right? Is this what you want to be doing right now? If you've got an entire team recording you and trying to learn, they're eventually going to share this to the entire world saying, this is how this person has done it. Do you really want to be on Netflix? Do you really want to... It's okay. Don't get me wrong. Netflix is great. Relaxation is very important. But
Yeah.
do you really want to be procrastinating right now? Do you want to be on YouTube when you have a lot of work to get done? Is that what you want the world to see? And is that what you think is what's going to be needed for you to get to where you have to? So I think those three concepts have stuck to my head. It's writing my goals down every day, doing the thing, and then just acting like there's someone watching you. Because then as soon as you get into the mindset, you realize that, oh, wow, this is not how I'm going to get to where I have to be. Yeah.
Right. So for people listening, so something that you do is you write down your goals every single day and you write it in your book and you break it down into each step of the way. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll show it to you so that you can't see the book, but there you go. So every single day, you can't see it, but if I have my chest here, but okay, my face is missing, but every single day, and this is like a 400-page book, every single day I write down my goals.
Great. If you could only send one single line of SMS text to yourself 5 years ago, what would it be?
Oh, go on. It's all right, do the thing. That's all I'll say. It's all right. Just do the thing. I think actually, I don't know if you can see it. I have a tattoo over here called Now, NOW, and there's a compounding line underneath it. It basically says the same principle. The slide edge talks about it. It's an old Asian proverb: a 1,000-mile journey starts with a single step. So I think that's another thing I'll tell myself is, just start.
Yeah. That's great. Finally, how could people reach out or learn more about you, V?
Sure. I think the advantage and disadvantage of having a unique name is if you type my name on Google, I'll probably be the first person to show up with my name. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, I'm probably part of every Facebook group that has to do with business, and soon on YouTube as well. So yep, you can find me pretty much under the same name everywhere. Yeah.
Great. I'll add that all to the links in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you.
For everyone else. V, it has been an incredible chat. I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're a busy guy, but I reckon we could go on for hours and hours. I would love to connect with you sometime. Maybe you can come to the shop. I'll come to you, whichever way it may be.
I mean, I'm probably going to come to your shop. And just again, I know this man doesn't shout his product out, but the Mayflower in Australia, in Sydney, if you haven't been there, it's bloody incredible. Go to the website. You'll start salivating just looking at the food. It's great. It's great. Go there. He's not going to talk about it, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. I've been there before. I'm not hyping him up. We've never met. We just met online, but his restaurant is bloody amazing. So just FYI.
Thank you so much for the shout out, V. Appreciate it, my friend. You have an amazing rest of the week. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for having me. Soon. For sure.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. All the links to the show notes will be available at kevinleesocial.com, spelled KEVINLY. Conversely, if you have any interviews that you'd love to recommend, please send it over to kevinleesocial@gmail.com. I'd love to connect. Thank you. Until the next episode.